But what you say there, Liam, is I agree with the whole character aspect, but I would definitely weave that with what Tom said, in that you need an actor like Joaquin Phoenix to play that kind of character for the film to work as a whole and carry it in that way. I think it takes a certain type of actor to play that role, play that role in a film like this. Definitely.
Chop.
Do you reckon the casting staff of Joker watched that a couple of times?
Yeah, man. I was thinking that. There's a scene specifically, like I can't remember if he's in the bathroom or something.
Yeah, he's looking at a white. Is it looking at a whiteboard?
Just introspective, but a hint of like self-destructive, and
there's when it pans from the back and he's got no shirt on.
Sorry, guy, I've completely interrupted you.
And I'm just saying, is it when it's panning from the back and he's got no shirt on and he's facing away from the camera? I was like, oh, it's Joker. Like literally little glimpses of it. Yeah.
I was going to say that scene at the end when like he's been locked up and you can see him through the window and he's just hanging from the thing. I got full-on Joker vibes from that.
It's interesting. I scrolled through the IMDb and it gives that like trivia section. The first one that came up at the top was said that they made a lot of the characters shoot all of the interactions where it's like one-on-one multiple times. So and they let them improvise a lot, so that when it came to the director making all the editing choices, as you say, Liam, to just completely throw you and make it unpredictable, he basically chose whichever scene fitted the direction that he wanted the most. So the interactions were unpredictable because he picked unpredictable, to see how mad that makes it. Because if you've got a script, you learn a script and you then perform that. But if you're told to improvise or ad lib to a loose script, and then the director can pick any number of interactions of scenes, you can see why they make it so chaotic.
That's quite interesting. Yeah.
Some long takes in there as well.
It only works if the actors are good at it.
Some really long takes in there as well, though. See, so when it mattered, sort of 2 or 3 minute takes on some of these scenes when they really mattered. I love it when films do that, because you can just tell that means that those actors have been in a room before, like you do when you did drama, and they actually just like rehearsing a scene instead of an actor rocking up on set and just delivering a line which is a 2-second take. Like some 2 minute, 3 minute takes in this film, which is really interesting, and quite liked it a lot. Other than the messy story in terms of following it, was there anything other than that any of you didn't like?
As I said, I thought the narration wasn't bad, but I just don't think it was necessary.
Did you see her as an imaginary character?
Not so much, because I saw it as just aid for the viewer, because I don't know whether they added it in at the end or if it's part of the book or what. Just sort of explain things that sometimes didn't need to explain, sometimes did need to be explained, but the way she was explaining it didn't add anything because it was often so random and incoherent.
Would you rather it have been more obvious than she was?
I thought it was just she using just absolute hippie jargon. That she was just the voice of that era, like
astrologically speaking.
Yeah, it's just very much like zodiac signs, all that kind of horoscopes, all that kind of stuff, just full of it.
Anyone else? Anything that you didn't particularly take to?
Well, I will say about I loved the voiceover stuff, but I will say at times I found it hard. My attention found it really hard to know what to focus on, because there was always the monologues are always dense. They're always dense with just like hippie jargon, and you're trying to understand like a semblance of what it's going on about. At the same time, that's being voiced over. The scenes themselves, like visually, are full of like dense information. Like they're fighting or they're doing something weird in the corner. So I don't know if that's just more speaking to my inability to multitask, or whether it's perhaps a fault or whatever with the film. But I did find I had to rewind certain things a couple of times just to get a gist of what was going on.
Mm-hmm. Tom, anything that you didn't particularly take to?
No, there wasn't anything that I thought was bad about it. I just thought it could have been better if a couple of things were different. I think if it was a touch more serious, And like I said, I think if some of the cameos weren't included, and it was more of an individual focus on a character tied into this weird plot line, I think it would have been a slightly more interesting movie, and something that you could have taken a little bit more seriously. But the way it currently is, I think, kind of restricts that. It's not that it's bad. There was nothing I particularly didn't like about it, but I just think it is what it is. It's never going to be a very highly rated film. It's never going to be something that's kind of critically acclaimed. It's something you can kind of watch and kind of zone in and out of, I think, because you don't need to focus on anything. But I thought if it changed a couple of things and was slightly more serious, it would be something that was really, really interesting, and you'd probably have been really gripped the whole way through. That would be my only takeaway.
James, was it too long, in your opinion?
We do like a long film here, don't we?
And basically an hour, basically 2.5 hours, isn't it?
I never. I have to say, I wasn't checking my watch really at any time of the film. The only reason I got called out was because I knew I was feeling my phone vibrating, and I was like, "Oh shit, I'm really late for this call."
The fact that you were half an hour late meant it was too long.
Probably not. Yeah, exactly.
You watched it all in one sitting, though.
Yeah, I watched it all in one sitting. I never watch films not in one sitting. I find that.
Yes, you do. Stand by me. Don't you fucking lie. Stand by me.
That's because I got 2 minutes into the film and fell asleep. If I'm sitting down to watch a film, I'll watch it all in one go, because that's how it's meant to be watched, isn't it? But yeah, no. I think Tom's point is interesting, because I generally felt the same, in that I don't really have a big criticism of the film at all, other than it didn't really have any real punchy emotional beats for me at all. I just kind of felt like I was on a bit of being taken for a ride, and I did enjoy it, but there wasn't anything where I was like, wow, or oh my god, that makes me want to cry, or that's giving me shivers. There was nothing like that in that film for me, which I do like that in a film. I like it when it can do that. So that was probably, I think, as a result of the fact that it was quite a very convoluted plot with so many different characters in it. It meant that there wasn't that, as you say, Tom, a focus on any key arcs that actually had real weight to them for me. So that's probably a bit of a negative, but again, it's very personal.
Do you think the film had anything to say, James? About anything?
Yeah. Absolutely.
If I hadn't come out of it literally just 2 seconds ago, then probably I'd think about it and be like, yeah, there probably was. And I think, Guy, you mentioned some interesting, like, there was definitely a commentary going on between.
Absolutely was.
The hippie kind of vibes versus that of the kind of blue collar workers and whatnot, and definitely within the police force versus this private investigator.
That scene it kept skipping back to where he's beating him up and outside the car.
Yeah, but also just with the 60s and 70s, there were two different periods showing two different really different time periods when how people were viewed, and just the force of the LAPD, man, it's totally different. And society changes, and as society changes, you can see how sort of the suits versus the blue collars sort of starts to come through, and you see it, and you see someone like Josh Brolin's character is a character that wanted to be in this sort of the capitalist side of things, but he was never accepted into it, I find, which is why he then chose to eventually be the one that broke the law. Where like the whole time he was always thinking what a waste of space Doc is, and he spends all his time doing drugs, and you're the bad one. And in the end, it's him that breaks the law, and Doc's the one that does the righteous thing, and actually gives the drugs back to get out of trouble almost, rather than taking the money. And but he always does the right thing, and he gets Owen Wilson back out of his what was it, like a debt almost, wasn't it? That he's like he's tied into this ring.
Tied informant, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I think there definitely were some undertones. They may not have been as prominent as some people might like. So sometimes it's nicer to have them a little bit more obvious. I like to have the work done for me a little bit more than that, in a way.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah.
But each to their own. Some people would watch it and love to mull over the tones of it afterwards. But I'd like to have a little bit more of a clear definition between the two, especially when you've then got people like the Golden Fang dentistry industry with Martin Short and stuff as well. It's like, what the fuck is going on with that? So
I really enjoyed those scenes.
yeah, they were the funny ones. I found those scenes so funny.
Yeah,
and
that was
with
the most
Joaquin, like, do you want to take
entertaining
some of the for the road? Yeah, sure. And I thought that was all really
But-
great.
Funny
But
section
what
was
was
when he shot that dude and then asked, "Did I get you?" He
Yeah.
like shoots him and like sits back and like,
Yeah.
"Did I get you?"
Is
like,
that the first time that a gunshot is in the film? Is that, I'm pretty sure it's like one of the
Yeah.
first. So it has like, you know, when in films when they've just shot like 7,000 bullets by the 30th minute and you're just completely desensitized to it, and then like some films like this one, it takes like a whole film before like a gun is shot. So when that fucking when the bullet goes,